everyone, and welcome back to another video here on Sam's Crafty Castle, and today we are revisiting my sort of finding inspiration in weird places topic that I've done a few of over the last couple months. This time, this card is inspired by my favorite currently running Broadway musical, The Outsiders. It is also my favorite, but one of my favorite books. It may be my favorite book. I don't know. I have a lot of favorite books, so it's really hard for me to pick like a top favorite. But Outsiders is definitely up there in the world of my favorite books, and it is a movie that I have watched 1,000 times over. So full disclosure, a lot of this video today is going to be about 15 minutes of me just talking about how much I love The Outsiders. But I wanted to do a card inspired it. I had this brilliant idea at one point that I was going to make these for the entire cast and crew of the Broadway musical. But if you know anything about musicals, that can easily be like 100 people. And I am paranoid about like leaving someone out. So I would have had to make 100 of these. And that's why this card you'll see is kind of simple as far as the layout and everything. Because in my brain, at first I was going to like mass produce them and send them to the cast, crew, and creative team of The Outsiders. But I quickly realized that even with the best intentions, I do not have the attention span to make 100 of the same card. That's why I don't make everyone like mass produce my Christmas cards. If I had to make like 4, maybe. But having to make 100, it was not going to happen. But that's why you'll see this card is like fairly simple. It's not super technique heavy. But that's why, because in the original like brain design of this card, when I was in the design phase, I've had this card in my head for almost a year. And in the original design phases, it was meant to be simple, so I could easily mass produce it until I realized how big of an undertaking that was actually going to be. So this is a honeybee stencil. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head. I have to look it up, but I know I got it in a Craft and Create box not that long ago. Nope, I take that back. It's probably like 3 or 4 events ago now. But like I said, I've read the book when I was 13. If you grew up in the States, most likely you read it in middle school or high school. And I don't want to get into the whole plot because I only have 15 minutes, and I do want to be able to shout out some of the crafty card stuff as I'm going here. But I was 13 when I got assigned to read the book in school, and it's like one of the funniest things because I was 13 and remember telling my mom I don't want to read this book because it's all about boys and there's no girls in it. And I was like, I'm a 13-year-old girl. Why would I want to read a book about teenage boys? Because teenage boys are weird. And so I was very much like, no, I don't want to read it. But my mom was like, give it a chance. I think you might like it. And I think she'd read it before. She never really said she did, but I'm guessing she did. And she was like, just give it a chance. I was deep into my Newsies phase at the time, which is my all-time favorite musical, has been since I was like 10. And I first watched the movie. But like, actually no, I think I was 12 or 13 when that happened too. But anyway, I was deep in my Newsies phase. And I think she realized at the time what I couldn't realize, that they were very similar stories. And had the same kind of vibes to them. So she was just like, give it a shot and you'll love it. I obviously had a school copy of the book because like it was just part of a class set. I think I read that book 7 or 8 times before I had to hand it back in. I know I finished it weeks before my class because I read, this is spoiler alert if you haven't read this, but I read the scene near the end of the book where Dally dies and Johnny die, near, like, on the bus on the way home. And I remember coming home and going in my room and my dad being like, what's wrong? Because I was just really off, and I was like, everyone's dead. Like, I was shocked. This was the first book I'd read that really had, like, those kinds of major life or death consequences to it. And this book just rocked my world in a lot of ways. And I remember being 13 and we watched the movie. And if you guys know, there's two versions of the movie. There's the theatrical version and the complete novel version. And we watched the complete novel version at school. And then I asked my mom to take me to the library so I could get the movie and the book. I'm pretty sure I got both of them. And then I read the book another, 3 times and had the movie on repeat for, 2 weeks. But was really upset because I thought the DVD was broken because I didn't realize that there was 2 versions at the time. And so then finally I was figured it out, and I got them to order me off Amazon my own copy of the book and the complete collection movie. And I recently absolutely destroyed my DVD of it, so I had to go buy the Blu-ray. That's how much I watched it. The DVD no longer functioned. The whole second half of the movie wouldn't play on the DVD. So I had to go out and get the Blu-ray, and then ended up actually having to get an entirely new Blu-ray player because I couldn't get just the regular Blu-ray. I had to get the 4K Blu-ray. I didn't have a Blu-ray player that would play 4K Blu-rays, so it was a whole thing. That happened last summer. But 13-year-old me was also deep in her musical phase, and her theater kid. That was 13 to 17 was my peak theater kid era. And I wanted so desperately for there to be a musical of The Outsiders. And it did not exist when I was 13. There was a few unofficial straight play versions floating around, but there was no musical. And 13 through 15 was my peak musical kid era. And I wanted it, but it didn't exist. So life has kind of happened in my late 20s, early 30s, mid to late 20s, and I kind of fell off the theater bandwagon for a while. I still was following it, but not as closely as I had been. And I ended up finding out in 2023, near the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, that The Outsiders was going to Broadway. And I was at first I was no, it can't be My Outsiders though, right? They wouldn't do that at this point. So I looked into it a little bit more. And I discovered that it was in fact My Outsiders that was going to Broadway, and I was really, really hyped for it. Great Expectations, which is sort of one of the signature songs, I guess you could say, from excuse me, from the musical, ended up coming out as a single in January of 2024. The cast album dropped in May of 2024. The show opened in April of 2024. That's why we're doing this card kind of today, because we're a month out from The Outsiders being open for a year. But next week is the same, March 16th is when it opened for previews. So I was trying to go March or April to do this card, and March just ended up working out a little bit better for me. So we're here. But so it's almost been open on Broadway for a year now, which means a lot of our original Broadway cast are starting to leave, so it kind of feels like a little bit of an end of the era. But it's I think the next person to leaves March 16th. Joshua Boone, who was the original Dally, left very suddenly and kind of unexpectedly. All good reasons, nothing bad, but still, we're at that point where people are gonna start leaving, and that makes me sad because it just feels like the end of an era. But The Outsiders fully thrust me back into my theater kid phase. I am eating up musicals like crazy again now. But it was just little 13-year-old me is having the best year of her life with these Outsiders musical. And I read the book again. I've watched the movie a couple times again. And it means something special to me. So back to kind of the card making side of it. Use things that are important to you and are special to you to inspire your cards. I've done Newsy stuff before, years ago. I think the last time I did something Newsies related was before I had my YouTube channel. But I've done that before. So, find the things that interest you and then turn them into something fun. And then when you do this and you buy yourself a set of letter dies, you can make any greeting that you want. So I was able to pull the Stay Gold greeting straight from the musical, straight from the movie, straight from the book. If you know, you know. And yeah, so I'll admit it does limit who I can send this card to, because I'd have to send it to someone who sort of gets it, especially using the Stay Gold greeting. And if you, like I said, I don't want to like talk too much about like the whole plot of everything, but like if you know what Stay Gold means in the context of the story, which is a very personal thing to everyone as well, but it's more of an encouragement situation. It means Stay Gold means basically be yourself. To me, at least, like I said, everyone gets something different out of it. But yeah, and then my other exciting Outsiders thing is I'm recording this in the morning, and usually I record my voiceovers after work. This week I'm recording it before work, because tonight I'm going to a concert. You can't see the air quotes, but they're there. To a concert that is Brent Comer, who plays Daryl Curtis on Broadway, who is my favorite Curtis brother. He is doing a 54 Below cabaret currently, and tonight is the last show of the cabaret. But since all 3 nights sold out, they decided to live stream tonight. So I bought a live stream ticket to go to his cabaret tonight, and I'm really excited about it. Going to see an in-person 54 cabaret is probably kind of on my bucket list, but I don't also feel like paying to go to New York, because New York is expensive, and there's other things that I want to spend my money on too. But I'm really excited. I'm gonna treat myself to dinner. I was gonna go to this fancy Italian restaurant that's not far from me and just pick up food and bring it home, because 54 Below to me is kind of fancy. I feel like if you lived in New York it wouldn't be that fancy, but to me it feels fancy. And so I was like, I'm gonna go get myself a really nice dinner, but I forgot that it's Monday and that restaurant is closed on Mondays. So I'm probably just gonna get pizza or something, so it won't be as fancy. But you guys can't see it, but I've got a whole Outsiders outfit on today. My dad got me the official Outsiders denim jacket that says Stay Gold on the back for Christmas. I've got the bracelets in the video, our Outsiders themed bracelets. They're never really on camera long enough for you to be able to see, but one says Stay Gold and one says Greaser. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a really fun night tonight. And yeah, here's the card. The finished card, like I said, it's pretty easy. It's just giving me a chance to basically show off about the outside about the Outsiders a little bit. My other thing that I wanted to mention that I was supposed to mention earlier, but I didn't, was the cast album for the Outsiders dropped in May. And I listened to that album so many times that my entire top 5 of my Spotify Wrapped, my whole stuff that they highlight of Spotify Wrapped, was the Outsiders cast album. So it took me in 7 months, not even, because I think they stopped doing collecting data for Spotify Wrapped at the end of October, I think. So from May to October, maybe into November, I managed to undo everything else I had listened to that year and make my entire Spotify Wrapped The Outsiders. I had listened to Great Expectations 504 times over the last year. But that's just me. I'm a music repeater too, so I listen to a lot of stuff on repeat. I watch a lot of stuff on repeat. That's just me. But anyway, thanks for hanging out and letting me yap a bit about the Outsiders for the last 10-11 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this card, and I will see you again next week. Oh, I forgot to sign off. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you again soon, and have a crafty day.